I call this meeting to order at this time, and I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Present.
Councilman Andujar? Councilman Ritz?
Present.
Councilman Trafficante?
Present.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Present.
Councilman Campiano?
Present.
Council Bonanno?
Present.
Council Vice President Haroyan? Present. Council President Wall?
Here. At this time, I'm going to request that the young men from Boy Scout Troop 66 come on up here in the front so they can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. And I ask everybody in the audience to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our first item of business this evening would be acknowledgements, commendations, and citations. And our first citation will be a congratulations citation. And I'm going to step down here. I'm going to ask the attorney Marcel to excuse me a second.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council. Nick Lima, Registrar Director of Elections for the Board of Canvassers. So we're honoring here tonight, the council is honoring and issuing a citation to 4 students. I think three could make it tonight, who are being honored for their civics engagement service to our city through something that has never been done before in Rhode Island, but is done in nearly every other state in the country. This is one of the few areas, I think, in elections administration where we've been behind the 8 ball on. And that is the creation of I voted stickers that celebrate the city of Cranston and also involve our local students. So we partnered with Cranston Public Schools about a year ago in order to start a I voted sticker contest in which art students in the schools would have the opportunity to design stickers that celebrate civics engagement in Cranston. So we don't have the same old I voted sticker from the state every single year. We'll still have that sticker, by the way, but for the first time ever in any Rhode Island city or town, in the 2026 elections, we're going to have these new stickers. Some of the contest rules were they couldn't be AI generated. They couldn't have any businesses or anything on there. So sorry, Dell's Lemonade. There's no Dell's Lemonade I voted sticker. And they had to celebrate something about the city of Cranston. So we have amazing artwork, amazing designs. There were 10 finalists the Board of Canvassers considered, and these 4 students were all selected for their designs that are going to be honored here. And Council President, I just want to thank you and the council for taking a few moments out of your agenda to recognize them.
Thank you, Mr. Lima. Those of you who know me know I'm a teacher in my other life, and one of the subjects I do teach is law and government and civics. So I can't emphasize, hopefully as well as Mr. Lima is eloquently, the importance of civics education, important of people being involved in their government and the proceedings. So, not to belabor the point, the resolution reads as follows: the Cranston City Council, let it be known that the Cranston City Council hereby issues this citation to, and I'm going to read the following names off as we go, in recognition to your creativity, your engagement in civics for designing a new I voted sticker selected by the Board of Canvassers for use in 2026 during the elections in the city of Cranston, which shall be the first I voted sticker created by local students in the history of the state of Rhode Island. And this is signed by all the members of the city council. And just congratulations to you. And the first citation would go to Julia Rago. Okay. Grace Bedebar. Yeah, we're gonna Lexi Montalban. And Samantha DeCesare. And perhaps I could ask the members of the school committee to come up with education.
Want me to say the same? You want to do mine now, so we can do that once?
We had one, and we actually have more citations, so I forget all about.
That's okay. So the mayor also has citations for the same students to read. This is to certify and make known unto all whom these present shall come that Mayor Kenneth J. Hopkins hereby issues a citation to, and all the students that were just presented will get one, in honor of your exceptional creativity, artistic talent, and dedication to civic engagement demonstrated through your design of the new I Voted sticker selected by the Board of Canvassers for use in the City of Cranston's 2026 elections. This achievement represents a historic first for the state of Rhode Island, as your design becomes the inaugural I Voted sticker created by a local student, setting a remarkable example for your peers and leaving a lasting legacy in our community. The City of Cranston extends its sincerest congratulations and very best wishes to you going forward. And there's a citation for each of these students as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a picture for you.
Okay, thank you. The next citation would be a citation congratulating Steve Piscopello on his selection as the 2026 recipient of the John Jack Cronin Award by the Rhode Island Recreational Parks and Recreation Association. This is a distinguished honor that reflects your exceptional leadership and steadfast dedication to advancing the parks and recreation throughout the city of Cranston. And I believe Director Renzulli is going to present, and also Councilman Campopiano.
So good evening, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Hopkins and the City of Cranston, I want to congratulate Stephen Piscopello on being named the 2026 recipient of the John Jack Cronin Award. This is one of the most respected honors in Rhode Island Parks and Recreation, and it reflects Director Piscopello's decades of experience, strong leadership, and deep commitment to the community he serves. Since coming to Cranston, he has already made a visible impact through improvements to our athletic fields, playgrounds, and recreational spaces across the city. We are proud to see his work recognized on a statewide level, and even prouder to have him serving the residents of Cranston. Mayor Hopkins has already presented Director Piscopello a citation from the city at his award ceremony, but we just wanted to say congratulations again. We appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
I also want to congratulate Director Piscopello for his wonderful work here in Cranston on behalf of the city of Cranston. I mean, the school committee. I mean, I'm done. The city council. I have a citation here in recognition of his selection as the 2026 recipient of the Jack Cronin Award by the Rhode Island Recreation and Parks Association. This distinguished award reflects your exceptional leadership and steadfast dedication to advancing parks and recreation throughout the city of Cranston. The City Council commends your contributions, celebrates this as well-earned achievement, and extends its warmest congratulations, best wishes to you, and continued success. I'd like to go off script and speak from the heart for a minute. I live within the earshot of the Chafee Complex. And before the director was even a director of Parks and Recs in the city, I witnessed his undying love for parks and recreation, for the children, and for what they do out there. He single-handedly raises money to build batting cages, put up anything that needed. The grass is always impeccable. It's perfect. It's just amazing. We have baseball teams that come from all over New England to play their world championships there at that field. And we are extremely proud to call you our Parks and Rec Director. You do a wonderful job throughout the city. Thank you again for all you do on behalf of the City Council.
Okay, the next citation is a citation recognizing the Department of Public Works for its critical contributions during this historic blizzard of 2026. I believe Councilman Bonanno and Director Renzulli is going to come up and make that presentation. You are a gentleman, sir.
Good evening again, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Hopkins and the city of Cranston, I want to honor our Public Works team tonight. I want to speak from the heart as we recognize a department whose work is often behind the scenes, but whose impact is felt by every single resident of our city, especially during the toughest moments. During the 2026 blizzard, when our community was facing one of the most severe storms in decades, the men and women of the Department of Public Works showed what true public service looks like. While most people were sheltering at home, DPW crews were out on the roads, in the yards, and in our garages, working around the clock to keep the city moving and to keep our residents safe. And I want to say this clearly, I saw it firsthand. I spent much of that week in the DPW offices and out on the roads with crews. I set up shop alongside the mayor right there in the building, not because I had to, but because I wanted to be present to support the team and to understand exactly what they were facing. What we witnessed was extraordinary. We saw people who were exhausted but determined. We saw teamwork, problem solving, and pride in serving this community, and I did my best to help in any way I could with my own skill set. The dedication, the professionalism, the resilience was all on full display. These crews cleared roads so emergency vehicles could get through. They kept access open for medical needs. They made sure essential services stayed operational. Their work protected lives and allowed our city to recover far more quickly than I could have expected. So tonight, on behalf of the entire city of Cranston, it is my honor to present a citation to the Department of Public Works in recognition of their critical contributions during the 2026 blizzard. And additionally, I have a citation from Governor McKee recognizing the same. To every DPW employee, thank you. I saw your work up close and I will never forget it. And neither will this city. We have with us here tonight to take the citation, Director of DPW Frank Carrero and Highway Superintendent John Corso.
It's very tough to follow. Director Renzulli is always very thorough. But I want to go on record as saying that I know how thankless of a job it is to plow snow. I've done it for about 21 years. And there's a reason why, if you ask a snowplow driver about their overtime and plowing snow, they will say, quote unquote, it's blood money. It is one of the toughest jobs to do. You're not only contending with poor visibility, you're not contending with pushing stuff that doesn't really want to be pushed. You're contending with fatigue, and you're contending with a city that wants everything done as quickly as it can be done, and they should. I can tell you that obviously this was a historic snowstorm, more snow than we've ever gotten in anybody's life, the most recorded snow on record in Rhode Island history. And the men and the women of the Department of Public Works and the Highway Department did everything they could, and they succeeded in getting Cranston back to work safely and quickly. To the point where, excuse me, to the point where we were actually ahead of many of our peer cities and towns. I want to read the citation on behalf of my colleagues on the city council and also on behalf of a grateful city of Cranston. To the Department of Public Works in recognition of its outstanding service during the 2026 blizzard. In the face of record snowfall and dangerous conditions, DPW crews worked around the clock to clear roads, keep emergency routes open, and support essential city operations. The city council extends its heartfelt thanks for their exceptional efforts during this historic storm. And we set our hands, all 9 of us here in the Cranston City Council, on this 20th day of April 2026. I do want to ask Director Corso and Director Correo to come back up. And while they are here and they are second to none, this is not only for them, but it's also for the men. I'm sure they'll tell you. It's also for the men and women that report to them that are out there doing the work every day. So please, to your crew, tell them how grateful we are here in this chamber. Thank you very much.
Next item of business will be the approval of minutes. If there are no objections, I'm going to take the approval of minutes as a block. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Baziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Council Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, thank you. Moving right on, the next item of business will be public hearing on docketed matters only. If there is anyone in the chambers this evening who would like to speak on docketed matters, please step up to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given 4 minutes. Seeing none, Mr. Lima, is there anyone online who would like to make public comment on docketed matters only?
The account name is Andy Indahar.
Councilman, is that you?
Yes, that is.
Okay,
Now I
Feel
am
free to make
a
public
regular
comment.
citizen, human being, and I just wanted to apologize to you, Mr. President, to the members, my colleagues on the council for not being there tonight. I want to congratulate all the awardees today for the citations. And I also want to let the residents of Ward 3 know that I was not in support of that citation for DPW, as I know they put them in harm, but my name appears on the citation anyways. But I also want to let the public know that we are working diligently to solve this financial crisis in the city. And apart from that, I wish you all good luck tonight, and I'll be watching. Thank you.
thank you, Councilman. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment and let me reiterate on docketed matters only?
I see no other public comment online.
Okay, I am going to close public comment at this time. We're going to move on to resolutions. The first resolution will be a resolution proclaiming April 2026 as Genocide Awareness and Prevention Month. This is sponsored by Mayor Hopkins, Council Vice President Haroyan, and myself. I'm going to turn the floor over to Council Vice President Haroyan. The floor is yours.
I'd just like to say a few words tonight. I rise tonight to ask for your support in the resolution recognizing and commemorating the Armenian genocide from 1915 to 1923. Between 1915 and 1923, 1.5 million Armenian men, women, and children were deported, massacred, marched to their deaths through the Ottoman Empire. Hundreds of thousands were displaced. Their churches and cultural heritages were destroyed. This was the first genocide of the 20th century, and the term genocide itself was coined by Raphael Lemkin in the direct response to the Holocaust that followed it. Rhode Island is the home of the oldest and most vibrant Armenian community in the country. Many of those families settled here in the state after fleeing their descendants and were our neighbors, small business owners, teachers, veterans, civic leaders here in Cranston today. Recognizing this history honors their residents and contributions to our city. As a council, we do not set foreign policy, but we do set the moral and standard for our community. We do recognize the genocide. We affirm that Cranston is a city that tells the truth, stands against hatred of all forms, teaches our children that this will never happen again and we cannot allow this to happen again. Must be something of denial, the final stage of a genocide. As we reject that tonight and don't allow it again, by passing this resolution, Cranston joins the state of Rhode Island, the U.S. Congress, and 33 other states acknowledging this historical fact. We remember the victims. We stand with the survivors. We stand with their families that are here with us tonight. We commit ourselves to human rights and dignity for all people. I respectfully ask for your support tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. President.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? I see Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you very much, Council Vice President, for putting this in. My grandchildren also have Armenian blood in them. My daughter-in-law is half Armenian. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Fine, excellent, very good. Any other, yes, Councilwoman?
I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Well, it's all done.
Likewise, Mr.
Councilman
Chairman.
Traffic Kenny, you want to be, everybody wants to be added? Would I assume that? Okay, all right. If I could just, before I make my point, I could not elaborate further on what Vice President Haroyan said, but it is very important to remember the Armenian genocide, the Armenian community, and just to remember, if I'm not mistaken, is it 6:30 on
6 p.m. Friday night.
6 p.m. Friday night? We're having the Armenian flag raising in behalf. Okay, if there's nothing further, we are going to ask for a vote. Clerk, could you please take a roll?
Councilwoman Graziano? Councilman
Yes.
Ritz?
Yes.
Council Trafficante? Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Council Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, thank you. Moving on to a resolution to support the full funding of state aid, fully funding state aid to libraries, to the full 25% for the General Assembly. I'm going to ask Director Gasha perhaps to step up to the microphone and elucidate as he did so much work on this.
Thank you, Council President, members of the City Council. If I could, I just wanted to start by thanking my colleagues in Public Works and Highway and Parks and Rec for the amazing job they did during this storm, cleaning out our libraries and get our libraries back open. They have always consistently done an amazing job in their work when there's storms. So I want to publicly thank them for that. So as I mentioned in our budget hearing on Saturday, the governor has level funded state aid to libraries in his FY27 budget, which means that it is level funded at a 24.1% rate instead of the prescribed 25% by law. And what that does for the Cranston Public Library, it's actually a very small decrease in our state aid of $9,500. So small numbers that we're talking when we're talking about the overall city budget. But knowing the financial issues that the city has, any little bit of money helps. And if this were fully funded, it would bring another $23,000 in revenue for the library. I've worked to get bills introduced in both the House and the Senate in the General Assembly. And I ask that the City Council consider passing this resolution to ask the General Assembly to fully fund state aid to libraries.
Thank you, Director. I'm certainly going to be in as a sponsor, fully in support of this. I know how important our public libraries are to educate our students and have a chance just for people to go and read and study, and how important it was in my life and the life of my children. So I certainly agree with you wholeheartedly. First, I'm going to take a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And then I'm going to open the floor for discussion. I see Councilwoman Haroyan's hand up first.
I would like to ask to be a sponsor on this also.
Yes.
Likewise, Mr. Chairman.
Any other sponsors? All right, noted that And I think everybody in the chambers is a sponsor. You already are a sponsor, I believe. And I see Councilman Bonanno's hand up.
So there's a couple things that I'm really passionate about, and I, well, especially when it comes to what we do here on the council. One of them is our education, and the other is our libraries. And I just want to say, I know there's probably a lot more people that pay attention to the main meetings and do our committee meetings. So if I repeat myself to my colleagues, I apologize. But we have one of the best, if not the best, library director in the state, and I think we should all publicly acknowledge Director Garcia and the job that he does for our public libraries. He mentioned, and we all get, as a council people, we get an update every year from the libraries. Our central library and our Cranston Public Libraries are the busiest and the most used public libraries in the state of Rhode Island. And that's a tribute to the commitment that we have as a city and the commitment that Director Garcia has. Personally, I visit the library with my daughters probably twice a week. I always have a book with me in case this gets boring. I have something to do. I doubt it will tonight, but just in case, you never know. I always have a book with me, and reading is one of the most important things we can do, not only for our children, but as we become adults, keep our minds sharp. Garrison Killier said, "A book is a gift you can open again and again." And Margaret Fuller said, "Today a reader, tomorrow a leader." Reading is one of the most important things we can do for our kids, and like I said, to keep our mind sharp. I did have a question for Director Garcia. How many books can you buy with $9,500, just to put it in perspective?
$9,500, we could probably buy several hundred books.
So the next time, if this doesn't go through at the state level, the next time you have to wait for that bestseller 3 or 4 weeks before you can read it, blame this if it doesn't pass. I will. I'm in full support of this, and I'm happy to be a sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? I'm seeing none, so I'm going to ask the clerk to
Chairman.
please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Trafficante.
Since I'm the senior member of this particular organization, I go back many years with several directors of the Cranston Public Libraries. And they have not only been superb for the city of Cranston, for the children of our city, but most important, they've been self-sustaining with very small appropriations from city government. And so kudos for them. So I want to take my hats off for them for the operation of the Cranston Public Libraries, not only for the operation in terms of the delivery of books and periodicals and et cetera, but being self-sustaining and not depending upon city dollars to maintain our great libraries.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further comments? I'm seeing none at this time, so I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Ward?
Yes. Okay, our next resolution, we'll be honoring one of our own in the chamber this evening, and I promise not to be mushy or sentimental, and I'm going to keep with that. Is our resolution honoring Rosala Xani for her years of service and her dedication to the city of Cranston. And as I said, she has been a giant asset to the city. If you could say someone was irreplaceable, I see that. All her years in the service of the city and just the institutional knowledge that we'll be missing. So a great thank you to Rosala on this evening. So we have a resolution for you, just to honor you. It was signed by all the members of the council. One of the few times I didn't have to ask anybody to be a sponsor. They all wanted to be a sponsor. And it reads as follows. Resolution of the city of Cranston honoring Rosala Xani for her years of service and her dedication to the city of Cranston. Whereas Rosala has been employed by the city of Cranston since July 23rd, 1984. And whereas Rosala Xani has been an exemplary employee of the city of Cranston for nearly 42 years. Whereas Rosala has served as assistant city clerk and clerk of the committee since 1999 and has been a vital and integral part of the city clerk's department during that time. Whereas in 2016, Rosala was awarded the Town Clerk of the Year Award presented by the Rhode Island Society of Professional Land Surveyors. And whereas Rosala has been an active and important volunteer in the Cranston community, helping both the Cranston Fall Harvest Fest and the Cranston Senior Games on numerous occasions. Whereas Rosala's knowledge and professionalism has been a tremendous asset to our city. And whereas Rosala's warmth, her kindness, willingness to help and support her colleagues and her community will certainly be greatly missed. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Cranston, the Cranston City Council honors Rosala Xani for her years of service and her dedication to the city of Cranston and wishes her the best on her retirement, and is signed and sponsored by every member of the city council. Please.
Let me say this. Additionally, I have a citation on behalf of the mayor for Rosala Xani in recognition of nearly 42 years of dedicated service to the city of Cranston. Your professionalism, commitment, and support of the administration, the city council, and its committees have strengthened our community and enriched the work of municipal government. With gratitude for your exceptional contributions and your devotion to the residents of Cranston, the city of Cranston proudly honors you for your distinguished career and lasting impact. The city of Cranston extends its sincere gratitude and wishes you the best in retirement. And I can personally say, having worked with Rose as a member of the city council and now part of the administration, she is irreplaceable and we will miss her dearly.
Because Rose is crying, I want to say something funny. Just so you guys know, Councilwoman Vaziri and I have not lived a day of life without Rose working for the city of Cranston. I don't know if that'll make you feel better or worse, but that's a fact.
I'm not good at having attention geared towards me. I just want to thank everybody. I enjoyed the last 41 plus years with the city. I love the city of Cranston. I'll be watching from home. And I also like to thank my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandkids, my sister, my mom who could be here today for all their love and support over the last few years. That's all. Thank you so much.
Would there be a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
I figure give Rose a little time. I'm sure there's probably a comment or two. Any comments or discussion? Councilman Trafficante?
Mr. Council President, members of the council, There's not a person in in this room that was around 41 years ago. I know that for a fact. I had the honor and the privilege when I was mayor of the city of Cranston to appoint Rosala. It's quite obvious I made a great choice. So I want to repeat the words of Robert Browning because they're appropriate tonight. Robert Browning wrote that people are never honored for what they gain or receive in life. People are honored for what they give of themselves to life and to their fellow man. It is quite obvious to all of us here tonight, especially the city council members, that Rosala has emulated those very words over the years. She's going to be missed dearly. And I'm so honored that I had the honor to appoint her some 41 years ago. And I love her dearly, and I'll miss her.
Well said. Any other comments? I see Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. Like I says, I feel like I'm losing a friend. You've always been there for us. I just want to wish you the best with your family and especially with your grandchildren and your time off. Please enjoy it and don't be a stranger.
Council Vice President Ryan.
I want to say I've had the honor to get to know Rosalba as we got through safety services. She was not planning to retire, but as a result of the financial situation the city is in, she decided she had to. I'm not losing a friend because I don't plan on not staying in contact with her. Every one of us, you have become part of our extended family. We wish you lots of luck on your retirement and know that you are always loved from us.
Any other comments? Councilwoman Graziano.
We wish you well moving forward and wish you the best. And this is great for you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilman Bonanno?
I'm just going to say you better not change your phone number because we're going to need you. Salute.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? There being none, I'm going to ask Rosala to please take the roll.
Councilman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Ritz,
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nazari,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to committee reports. The first committee is going to be the Claims Committee. Reporting out will be Councilwoman Bazari. The floor is yours, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Council President. The Claims Committee met on April 6, 2026. There were numerous claims that were paid that you can find in your packet, and I have nothing further to report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Moving on to a report from the Chair of the Safety Services and License Committee, Council Vice President Haroyan. Floor is
Thank
yours.
you. Safety Services Licenses held its last meeting on April 6, 2026. We discussed lots of safety issues. Sorry, I'm a little emotional right now. No action or no votes tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Moving on to the report of the Chair, Councilwoman Andahar is not here for the Finance Committee. I said I would take it. That meeting was held on April the 6th, 2026. Several things were considered. The first thing we're going to consider is 3-2601, an ordinance ratifying the school committee's collective bargaining agreement with Rhode Island Laborers District Council 1322. These are the tradespeople and mechanics unit. This was passed through the Finance Committee and all the information is in there. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and second. Is there any discussion? I see Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. Boy, if there was ever a poster child for bad timing, it's this. I don't know if it's possible to delay this or tap the brakes, but there's a lot of uncertainty in the city right now, and I for one, I don't know if I can support it without knowing what's going forward. It's nothing against them. They do a wonderful job. But I just don't know where we stand. So I'm asking if it's possible to put it off. If not, I'm not gonna be able to support it.
So you'd like a motion to table, is what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman,
Let
Yes,
me
I
just
would.
finish. Okay, so we'll consider that. He's made, Councilman Campiano has made a motion to table. Is there a second? Without that second, the motion can't go on. So there has also been a motion already, a motion to approve, and there was a second, and we're in discussion now, but thank you. Councilman Trafficant.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself from voting tonight. I'm a
Certainly.
member of the New England Laborers Union. I was also a former member of Local 1322, so I have to recuse myself.
I think all of us would be probably a bit remiss if we didn't recognize the terrible financial situation we're in. And certainly when this came before committee, I did mention it when it came up, that although there are small raises within this collective bargaining unit, ultimately, these are mechanics and tradespeople who save the school department money. So I was in favor of it. Generally, those who have heard me speak at the budget hearings, I'm usually against any increases at this point, just because of the dire financial situation we're in. But in this expenditure sounds like an oxymoron. In this expenditure, we actually save, because if we had to go on the open market for the skill set that the members of this collective bargaining unit possess, it would cost us exponentially more. So that's why I will support it this evening. I do see Mr. Crudale, and any information you could perhaps put forth on the value of these people, because you and I have sat in the same place and discussed.
Yes, Council President. Michael Crudale, Chief Human Resources Officer, Clinton Public Schools, 35 Rockwood Ave, Cranston. I would just echo what Council President Wall just said. I can tell you the amount that is in the fiscal impact included in your packet.
Yep.
Doesn't even come close to what it would cost us if we had to contract this work. We have 23 buildings. We have 3 plumbers, 2 electricians, 2 carpenters, and 2 HVAC people that handle all 23 buildings. It's a huge task. They do it flawlessly on numerous occasions. They've also been asked by the city to work for Parks and Rec. They've put up safety lighting at a couple of the facilities, as members of the school department bargaining unit, but still assisting the city in a couple of areas that needed some safety lighting at some of our Park and Rec facilities. So again, this group works tirelessly. We also have 4 mechanics in this group as well, who are working constantly on our fleet of buses, which is around 85 buses handled by 4 mechanics. So if we were to go out and contract this work, it wouldn't even come close to what you see in this fiscal impact. It would actually, I can't even put a number to what it would cost us if we had to go out and bargain and go on the open market and contract all of this work.
I might also add, not to mention, and as sitting on the school committee for a lengthy amount of time, how can I say this in the most polite way? Our fleet of buses are not exactly the newest models and require perhaps more service than we would like. And having these people on hand, as opposed to going outside, it makes a difficult job much less difficult.
Extremely.
Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to reiterate, I'm not faulting them. I'm not saying they don't do a good job. They do a wonderful job. They do say, but at this present time, I just would feel more comfortable if it was just delayed. So we have to face our constituents, and we all are getting the calls over and over again. It just would be easier to defend if it was just after we knew what was going on and everything is settled and revisited it. I'm sure it would be no problem whatsoever. But like I said, if there was a poster child for bad timing, it would be this. So thank
I
you.
completely understand. I'm a taxpayer myself, totally understand. I just fear that the deficit we're looking at would be that much greater if we contracted outside and we lost these men.
I would tend to agree. Any other comment? I see Councilman Ritz.
Just to add a few comments, I did when I first see this share, Councilman Campiano's first thought of, geez, the timing on this is tough, but having been a former school committee member, I know this is a small group and it's a skilled group. So to lose them without this somewhat small increase here, I think is a tougher loss to the city. And I know the expense that the buses and those pieces have of it too. So I definitely see your point here. I just think, like it's been said, it saves us more money than having to not only send this work out, but then retrain new people into this is the balance here.
And just to clarify, so the bargaining unit members is 13. There's 13 members in the unit.
There's 13 members.
Yep.
And the financial impact, just so I don't have to look it up, approximately for this year was?
For 26, 27, it's 112, 863. I don't have my glass.
So approximately $112,000.
Yeah.
That's what I recall. Okay, for 13 members.
Mhm.
I think we're getting a bargain here myself. And that's not, and trust me, I want to say this again, it's not to throw shade at Councilman Campiano because I certainly see it. It's, yeah, I'm torn as well. Council Vice President Haroyan.
I think we're all a little uneasy with this, like Councilman Campopiano said, but having the experience of being a school committee member, realizing that this is 13 people, these men are specially trained, all women, and we're dealing with school bus. And I know every one of us is concerned when we put kids on a school bus, the safety, and these people, if they went to work in the private sector, would probably make double what we're paying. Right now, we're in, yes, financial trouble is an understatement, but I'll be supporting this tonight.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other comments? Let me make sure everybody got one and I'll give it to you again. How's that? Any other comments? Okay, the floor is yours, Councilman Campiano.
I promise, Council President, this is my last time. I just want to say again, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying table. That's all I was saying. Just next meeting, that's all I was saying. So I just want to have that for the record.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, there being no further comments, at this time, there has been a motion made and there has been a second to pass this. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zeri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
No.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Royan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. That motion passes. The next will be a consideration of interest, tax interest waivers. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante? Councilwoman Zeri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Royan? Council President Wall?
Yes. That motion passes. Councilman Trafficani and Councilman Haroyan, would you like to vote on the tax interest waivers?
I would like to vote yes on those.
Councilman Trafficante? Tax interest waivers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That has been noted. Thank you. All right, next item of business would be the advice and consent on Mayor Hopkins' appointment of Robert Strom. This did come through the Finance Committee and it did pass through the Finance Committee. Is there anyone, I believe Director Inslee, you're going to speak at all on this matter?
I don't want to belabor the point. We've all spoken about the qualifications of Robert Strom. He served this city already for over a decade as its finance director. He is acutely aware of the issues within the city and its budget, and he is the best person to help bring us forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Director. Mr. Strom, would you like to say anything before I put this to a vote?
Thank you, Council President. I've been a finance director for about 22 years. I was in Woonsocket for 9 years, 13 in the city of Cranston, 12 with Mayor Fung and 1 with Mayor Hopkins. And I would definitely appreciate your support and confidence in me to come back and try to help us get through this difficult time. As we all know, we have a lot of work to do, and hopefully we can get some resolution both for the administration, council, and more importantly, the taxpayers of the city of Cranston.
Thank you, Mr. Strong. And as I said, and I won't belabor the point, much like Director Renzulli said, your experience, your knowledge, and the respect you have in the financial community around the state speaks for itself. I worked with you before when you were here, and I look forward to continuing. Are there any other comments? No comments. So at this time, I'll ask, did I take a motion? Then let's
Motion
take a
approved.
Motion.
Second.
Second, and no other comments, no discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, that motion approves. Next would be a report from, of course, once again, unfortunately, Councilman Andahar could not be here tonight. I'm sure he's with us in spirit. Would you like to report on the ordinance committee? You're the vice president. Are you the vice president of the ordinance committee? I can't remember.
No, I was just next on,
I thought you were ready to go. So listen, there's nothing to report out, but I thought all right, there's really nothing aside from there was a meeting held on April the 1st, and there's nothing further to report. All right, so I did skip you. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake, and Public Works Chair, Councilwoman Graziano, the floor
Thank
is
you.
yours, and apologize for skipping over you without even getting the approval.
Thank you, President Wall. Public Works Committee met on 4/6/26, and there are no items to report to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, so we've taken care of all the committees. Next will be public comment on undocketed items. If anyone is in the chamber this evening who would like to speak on undocketed items, please step up to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and I'll give you 4 minutes.
Hi, it's Marcia Fowler, 35 Milton Avenue. And the timing of my concerns doesn't mean to be show any disrespect to Mr. Piscopello. Cranston High School East, without a doubt, needs a new outdoor track, but I'm concerned with the proposed location for the possible track. Cooney Field is a public field that's used by people of all ages and all physical abilities all year long. Walkers, runners, families, teens strolling, parents pushing strollers, adults in electric wheelchairs with their staff, people using the pull-up bars, and best of all, the Cranston High School East Marching Band from August to November all use the field and track. Over the past 9 years, I've seen our ball fields locked up and not reopened to the public. I've seen the public fight to keep Doric Park as a public park. I've seen the public fight to reopen the track at West so the public has a safe, flat surface to walk on. I've seen the public fight to keep the pool open. And there was a chance that a well-used basketball court was going to close and become a splash pad at Doric. And recently a ball field was paved over. What we need is not another park to close for the public, but more public parks to be developed. We might hear that a new track at Cooney won't affect the use of public use, but historically, I don't believe that. A new outdoor complex funded by a long-term fundraiser is something to be considered. This would keep all fields open and also not cost the taxpayer any more money. And it won't take away a public field, but it would give us an additional resource without using our money on a bond and paying interest on a bond. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else in chamber who would like to speak on undocketed matters?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you, Council President. The reason I came back and I started to come back so soon is to talk about the budget.
Just before you begin, I won't take this off your time. Just state your name and address. for
Oh,
the
I'm
record.
sorry. I
Yep.
should know that by now. Stephen Frias, 107 Garden Hills Drive. I've come back because after I left, a couple people said, well, I wish you would have been able to say more. And then I came to the clerk's office and some random person I don't even know said, I wish you had been able to finish what you were saying. So I'm coming back to finish what I was going to say. So what I was going to say is as follows. I'll start this way. You're talking about largest tax increases. As you know, this is the largest tax increase since 2009. When Alan Fung was mayor, we got a cut in state aid. It was about 8.8%. We've had some other ones, 2003, Mayor Laffey, 12.8. Mayor O'Leary, 11.5. And then under Mayor Trafficante in 96, 95 were about 11% and 9.5. The largest actually, for your fun fact, is 1917, 19%. World War II inflation, World War I inflation. But some of you may wonder, like, what happened after those tax increases? The councils had a lot of turnover after those tax increases. This is what happened. So about 4 to 6 people in each council did not come back. They usually lost re-election, 2 to 4. So that's why I hope you really do spending cuts. That's why I was coming here before. To get to 4%, you're gonna need to have about a $6.5 million spending cut. I'll just say it. You're gonna level fund the schools to do that. The schools staffing has increased according to the own audit report of the city auditors. It's gone from 1462, 1431 about 10 years ago to about 1548. It's in the last couple of pages of the audit report. Okay? They should be level funded. The next category, and I should say this, the student population has been going down by about 1,000 during that same time period. The problem for the schools is state aid is not increasing at the same rate it did a decade ago. That's the problem. The city is increasing, the state isn't. Second, public safety. You need to reduce it by about $2.5 million. And I'm not talking about firing people. In 2009 and 2010, Mayor Fung and the city council approved agreements that allowed for 15 vacancies in the police and fire. There are no vacancies in the fire department. If you go from 204, you're going up from 196 to 204. That was an error in my opinion. And you guys approved that a couple months ago. You should be trying to figure out how to get it back down. In the early 2010s, it was around 181, 178. How much more time do I have left? Okay. Okay, sorry. If you cut me off, just let me know. Okay, just let me know. I'm sorry. I don't want to, Okay. Also, I should say the big beautiful bill, it allows for overtime to be free for the first $12,500 or $25,000. That's something that firefighters are going to get now. And please, they should be willing to give a little back right now. Last thing, you need about $2 million in savings in general government. That's about 20 positions being reduced. I think you could do it at the senior center, not all 20, without significantly materially impacting services. And if you had to, and I'll just say it this way, I don't want to offend people, okay? I'm not trying to offend people, believe it or not. If there's an employee who's not capable of getting out a couple of $100,000 in free federal money, even with the assistance of another employee over the course of 2 years, I don't think you should continue to fund that position. You should rethink it. It's with an 8% tax increase. So that's all I really had to say. I apologize if I went over. I appreciate your consideration. I'm just trying to do what's best, I think, for the taxpayers of this city.
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Frias. You didn't go over. You're perfect today.
Thank you. That was all it was. I just need a couple more minutes.
Just needed 2 days. Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to speak on undocketed matters? I'm seeing none. Oh, come on up. Just state your name and address for the
Hello.
record.
Hi, Tanya Signori. I do agree with the councilman here about putting off the raises. What would it have been, another month or so? I agree with that, but I can see the other side of it, so it's kind of both ways. But I think another month would have been a big deal. I think a lot of residents probably would have went that train of thought too, but just throwing that out there. Also, the Briggs building, maybe this is more of a school matter, but many jobs in the Briggs building, it costs into the millions just to run that building. I don't know if an audit is ever done or should be done on if all those positions are necessary. From what I hear, some of them are, some of them may not be. So a lot of money is going there and a lot of money goes to the superintendent of schools, who many people actually don't like. And I think it would be great if Cranston had more blue ribbon schools as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak this evening on undocketed matters? See no one here in chambers. I'm going to ask Mr. Lima if there's anyone online.
There's no public comment online.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment on undocketed matters. And next, we're going to go to the appointment of city officials. First item is the reappointment of Carol Cooney as tax assessor for Board of Review for the term of January 5th, 2026 through January 5th, 2029. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, there being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Horan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. Next item for business is the reappointment of Justin McCarthy as alternate number 1 for the Tax Assessment Board of Review for the term of January 28, 2026 through January 28, 2029. Is there a motion?
So
to
moved.
approve?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Horan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. Next item is the reappointment of Mario Carlino as alternate number 2 for the Tax Assessment Board of Review for the term of January 28, 2026 through January 28, 2029. Is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Is there discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Council Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Horan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. The next item are mayoral reappointments, or appointments rather. The reappointment of Robert Coop for the Planning Commission for the term of April 7, 2026 through February 1st, 2030. No votes will be taken. This is for informational purpose. There's an appointment of Alan DiPaolo to the Historic District Commission for the term of April 3rd, 2026 through November 1st, 2027. Once again, this is for information. No votes will be taken. The appointment of John Calisante to the Historic District Commission for the term of April 3rd, 2026 through November 1st, 2026. This is informational as well. The appointment of Eric Army to the Historic District Commission for the term of April 3rd, 2026 through November 1st, 2026. No vote to be taken. And lastly, the reappointment of Jillian Finkel to the Historic District Commission for the term of April 3rd, 2026 through November 1st, 2027. No votes taken on those matters. Report of city offices, none. Executive communications, I do not see Solicitor Malay here. Back, don't. Solicitor Vivekio down there? Okay. Do we know if Solicitor Malay will be attending this evening? Okay. Well, I mean, we did put this on there. Thank you so much. At this point, well, if there is no objection, and while we're waiting to hear from Solicitor Malay, I'll take the agenda out of order if there's no objection, so we keep this moving. I see none. I'm going to circle this so I do not forget it. All right. All right. So the next item of business would be a request for continued service for 1 year for Detective Lieutenant Stephen Brooks of the Cranston Police Department as of April 2nd, 2026 through April 2nd, 2027. Would you like to speak on that, Director?
Yes, thank you. Detective Lieutenant Stephen Brooks has completed the requirements for continuation of service, and Mayor Hopkins would like to request that Lieutenant Stephen Brooks serve another year. Thank you.
I certainly will be in favor of this. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second,
Okay, motion made and second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Baziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, thank you. Moving right along, a request to be placed on the pension roll effective April 17, 2026. At the end of the day, for Chief Daniel Marcinko, Cranston Fire Department, and we certainly appreciate his service. Director Renzulli?
Chief Marcinko has devoted his professional life to protecting the people of Cranston and serving the city with pride. The fire service asks a great deal of the men and women who answer the call, and Chief Marcinko has carried that responsibility with strength, steadiness, and honor. Over the years, he has not only led during emergencies, but also helped shape the culture, professionalism, and readiness of the Cranston Fire Department. Public service at this level requires sacrifice, including sacrifices made by family, and that should be recognized and appreciated as well. On behalf of Mayor Hopkins and the city of Cranston, I want to thank Chief Marcinko for his years of commitment, courage, and service. Your legacy will live on in the department that you helped lead and in the community you helped protect. Your retirement is well-deserved and well-earned, and while this chapter closes, your impact on the city will not be forgotten. We wish you health, happiness, and many fulfilling years ahead with family and loved ones. We are so grateful for you. And with that, I request to place Chief Marcinko on the city pension roll. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve,
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I just would add that, echo what Director Renzulli said, that we do appreciate the service that Chief Marcinko has given to the city of Cranston. And as I say, I'm sure it's a well-deserved retirement. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Baziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano? Council Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. So I'm going to go back to Solicitor Videcchia. The legal expense report is on. I know Director Renzulli did send a text to Solicitor Malay. Are you prepared to answer any questions on this matter, or that's probably? That's what I feared.
I mean, if they're of a general nature, I probably could, but if you're looking for specifics, because I have no part in the, the hiring or the farming out of legal work, but if there are general questions, I'll answer them as best I can.
So I believe the first part, the stuff that we would do in open session, you probably would be, I'm going to assume you'd be able to answer those questions. However, later on the agenda, there's also an executive session, which you've expressed also right now that would not be something that your party.
I mean, again, if I can be of assistance, I will, but if I suspect what the council is looking for, I probably will not be of much help, because as I said, I mean, he's the solicitor. I'm the assistant. I don't do any hiring or farming out of work.
Okay, so that part of the agenda, is there any questions? Unfortunately, I'm disappointed. I did not get notice that Solicitor Malay wouldn't be there. We have put this on the agenda. In fact, on the last agenda, we mentioned that it would be there. So I am disappointed he is not here this evening. I'm not sure why, but I guess we'll find out. Any questions for Solicitor Videcchia? He will try to answer any questions you have. It's not of a sensitive nature to each case and each lawyer. Councilwoman Graziano.
Thank you, President Wall. I don't have any questions, but I'm like one of the parties that requested that we go into executive session. So I just want to put it on the record that I'm disappointed that we couldn't take some time to go over this, because I have concerns about this continued budget. So I'll just say thank you for being here this evening, but I don't have any further questions that could be taken in open session.
Any other questions? As I said already previously, your statement and I'm pretty close to the same. We will put it on the next session as well. Clerk, if you could make a note of that. Okay. Okay, moving right along. My communications might have to do with the budget process, and I believe they'll probably, I put it on here for two reasons. As we discussed the budget process, I wanted to go over a few items that are contained. Hold on, I'm gonna take one moment. Yeah, John, I think we're probably moving right along. We've already touched on that one. I wanted to hit a couple of charter provisions that are gonna be apropos as we go forward in the budget process. So it probably would be from a legal end, but also I'm glad we've approved of Director Strom because it will also be in his wheelhouse as well. I asked, and there's a couple of items, I asked Tom if he could copy them just so we have them able to view. And I'm not going to read the charter provisions word for word, but I am going to highlight certain provisions. And I asked, the first item in chapter 6 is where the budget is discussed. And a lot of the items have already been, we've already gone through. We've had the introduction of the budget. We've gone through, we got the appropriation ordinance. We are already having our hearings. All right. We're getting to the point where we're partly through our hearings and we're starting to discuss what would happen regarding our action on the operating budget. So to be crystal clear, and I know at the time we gave the extension, the council has to act on the budget according to our charter and by May the 15th. All right. And the line you'll see on the top on 6.09, action on the operating budget and appropriation ordinance, says the following. The council shall act finally on the operating budget and the appropriation ordinance no later than the 15th day of May. Appropriation ordinance is that ordinance that the mayor sent to us when he gave us our address. If by that time fixed for final action, the council has not adopted, I underline that point, has not adopted with or without amendment, the operating budget and appropriation ordinance shall become effective as submitted to the council. Herein lies something of a, and we've talked about a little bit, a legal conundrum. Because and we'll get back to this, our appropriation ordinance requires a 7.45 tax increase, which is also something on that we'll get to. So knowing that, if you didn't act or we voted it down, the mayor's, it would go in as how the mayor introduced it to us. So if we didn't take any action on it, as of the 15th. If we didn't have enough time on it, the way I understand it, and please, solicitors, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a lawyer. If we didn't have enough time and we made no action at all, it would be the mayor's ordinance of allotments. The problem being is the mayor's, perhaps I should skip to the part that's going to give us trouble, which would be section 6.21, property tax levy cap. All right, so I'll skip ahead to that. I'm going to go back to some of the other ones as well. Tom, if you can put that front and center. If you look there, and here's where I think it's worth discussing. In 6.21, property tax levy cap title, the city may not increase property tax levy by more than 3%, but no higher than 4%. This is where it gets ambiguous, above the amount levied for the previous fiscal year unless approved by an affirmative vote of at least a majority of the entire council and at least one of the conditions set forth in the Rhode Island General Law 44-52, which is outlined on the bottom. So one of those conditions would have to be met to go to 4, and we'd have to have, if I'm reading this correctly, at least a majority vote. At that point, this council could go to 4. Not 7.5, but 4, which is sizably different. Now, what we're looking at would fly in the face of the furthermore, where it says, furthermore, the city may not increase the property tax levy by more than 4% above the amount levied in the previous fiscal year unless approved by affirmative vote of 4/5 of the entire city council and at least one of the conditions in the Rhode Island General Law. The way I'm reading that, that's 7 out of 9 of us. So those two things coupled together create a problem. And I don't know where we are at this point. We're not quite done with that process. But as I keep saying again and again, it is no guarantee. I tell this to the public and everyone out there. It is no guarantee that we're going to pass that 7.4. Right? We're still deliberating. It's early in that process, but that's a real contingency. So I figured we all should see it in black and white. And if those provisions, if there are questions, we have both the solicitor and our attorney to answer it. So I would open up just on those two items, because there are other provisions that I would like to talk about, would probably be more in Director Strom's wheelhouse. I see Councilman Ritz.
Thank you, Council President, for putting your teacher hat on there. That was a very good explanation and definition there. But I guess, so we have three scenarios. So it's, yes, we approve it. No, we don't approve it. Or maybe there's no vote and it just dies on the floor. So how do all three of those work? So if we vote yes, 7 out of the 9, then we still need state approval, and then it would become the new tax increase?
Anyone would like to answer that?
Well, without state authorization, you can't approve it. You can't approve 7.5%. So you would not be able to do that. That's the first problem. Okay. As Council President Wall said, if you take no action, the charter provision says that the mayor's budget as submitted takes effect. The problem, again, we circle back, it's requesting a 7.45 or 7.5% increase. Again, can't be done. Okay. So that raises several possibilities, none of them of which are particularly good. And Mr. Strom could probably speak to it better than I could. I can only tell you what the legal options are. And the legal options, basically, when it comes to budgets, and when it comes to a city or town that is in economic distress, let's use that term, and the city or town is unable to, for whatever reason, solve it internally, the only options at that point is to go to the Auditor General, okay, have them do a review. Now, the Auditor General will not come in and run the city, okay? They won't do that. However, the Auditor General may make suggestions, but it would still be up to this council working with the administration, you know, to come up with a solution if you go down that road. The other nuclear option would be a Central Falls scenario, a Providence School Department scenario, or Town of Johnston scenario back in the late 90s, where you contact the Auditor General and say, we can't meet our obligations based on this budget that we have currently. And that probably begs the question, well, what budget? I think we're in agreement that if the council and the administration do not enact a budget going forward, we would have to operate based on the prior year's budget, okay, going forward. But that's a temporary fix. I would say that discretionary spending would have to be frozen. Obviously, contractual obligations, payroll, pension contributions, things like that would still have to be met. But there would be basically a freeze on all discretionary spending. Now, the worst possible case scenario, as I just said, would be appointment of an overseer, as they did in Central Falls, as they did in Johnston, as they did with the Providence School Department. That is the nuclear option. That is basically saying to the state, sorry, we're too far in the hole. We cannot meet our obligations. Now, circling back to what President Wall was talking about with 6.21 and the property tax cap, state law does not allow you to exceed 4% unless you get General Assembly authority, or you go to the Auditor General, You have to certify it. Your finance department has to certify that one of the conditions contained in the statute have been met. It's considered an emergency type situation. It cannot be, you know, we just didn't budget correctly, we can't meet our obligations. It's got to be something like, again, it's going to affect health and safety, services, schools, pensions, something that is genuinely an emergency and we can't meet those obligations. In that scenario, if you can't get General Assembly approval, what you do is you go to the Auditor General. If the Auditor General, and it's a big if, says, okay, I'll let you exceed it, it comes back in front of you and you're right back in the same position because now you're going to have to vote whether or not to exceed that 4% and give 7.5%, 7%, 6.5%, whatever. So ultimately, it comes back in your lap, whether you go through the General Assembly, whether you go through the Auditor General. As I said, the nuclear option, if you really can't meet your obligations and it's affecting some of the categories I mentioned, the nuclear option is literally a state takeover.
So, yeah, so thank you. That was very, very helpful. So either way, it's the state approval first, whether it's a yes or a no. So say it is state approval, it comes to us and it's no. Is it the mayor's budget at that point to cut it down to the 4%?
Well, I think if I want to understand your question, so are you saying if it goes to the General Assembly and they allow you or they don't allow you to exceed the cap? Well, no, I mean, ultimately, the budget process as it's submitted is done, the administration, it goes to the council. Now, the council can, obviously, pursuant to the charter, can strike items, can raise, can lower. That's the amendment process. So, but in the first instance, I think it would have to go back to the administration, back to the mayor. But again, ultimately, it's ending up in your lap. No matter how we get there, no matter what circuitous route you take, it's going to end up right back here in front of you. So the one scenario that frankly, I'm really not certain of is what happens if none of those things work. So in other words, now we're in a situation where the mayor needs 7.5%. We can't exceed 4% because we can't get the authority from the Auditor General and we can't get our delegation to submit the bill to the General Assembly, or it's not approved. What happens? We're short 3.5%. The only thing I can think of at that point would be to get some type of clarification from the court. It might require a declaratory judgment and put it in the hands of a superior court judge because our charter doesn't go that far. It just doesn't explain what happens. This is a very unique, I've never experienced it. I don't know if Mike, but when I'm, you know, Attorney Marcello has a lot to say about it too, but that's my take on it. I mean, he's got experience with other communities as well. So let's hear from him too.
I'll wait for the question. I'll wait for the question.
All right, who had their hand? All right, Council Vice President Haran.
Can any of this go to the General Assembly without this council in voting on a majority on a resolution? Can the bill be submitted and heard on the House floor if we do not pass a resolution?
Well, I'll answer that question. I think you can probably answer that too. So the actual answer is the General Assembly could act without a resolution of this council. The reality is they will not act without a resolution of this council. So yes, could they have the authority to pass this by themselves? Absolutely. Will they do that? No. In the 8 years that I've been there, I know that John still works there or was working there at one point. They need local support because it's an extraordinary remedy they're asking. They're asking them to exceed a state law that sets the tax levy at 4%. So that they are asking you, we need to go over this. They want the mayor to submit it and they want the support of the legislative body before they will move on it. So
at the end of the day, it comes back to you. and it's got to be, I believe, it's either super majority vote or at least majority vote, you still have to
Oh,
vote on that. And
Can I just answer Councilman Ritz's question? I think the conundrum is this. I somewhat agree with some of the statements that were made. But the mayor submitted a budget that has a 7.45% increase. Under the charter that he's under and under state law, technically that is over the cap. He needs, and the city needs legislation to allow him to go over the cap. The budget that he has obviously goes over the cap. It is now in your lap. The charter says if you fail to act or don't act by the 15th, the mayor's budget becomes enacted. But that a budget, I'm going to use the term illegal, not in that, don't take it the wrong way, like a criminal act, but it's an illegal budget because it's not a balanced budget. He can't go over 4%. So his budget is a nullity because he doesn't have the authority to propose a budget with a 7.4% increase unless he got General Assembly approval. If he doesn't have that, then he doesn't have a budget. So what would, I'm sorry, Trav.
Can he go to the General Assembly himself, try to ask for the 7.4?
He could, absolutely, yeah, absolutely could, but as I said, they will not pass it without a local resolution. That's not law, that's just the practice, that's policy that they have up there. So the problem is that if you don't act by the 15th, you have the mayor's budget is a nullity because it's above the 7.4%, it's above the 4%. He doesn't have the authority to submit. So in my opinion, the budget goes back to the mayor and he's got to submit a new budget within the charter provisions or, 4% or whatever. If it's 4%, you still got to go get 9 votes. One thing that I do want to add though, there is a provision in state law. It's 45-2-3.2. It says unless otherwise provided by a city or town charter, in an emergency caused by a failure of a city or town to approve an annual appropriation measure, the same amounts appropriated in the previous fiscal year shall be available for each department and division thereof, subject to a monthly or quarterly allotments in accordance with seasonal requirements as determined by the city or town's chief financial officer, provided that expenditures for payment of bonded indebtedness of the city or town and interest thereon shall be such amounts as may be required, regardless of whether or not an annual appropriation ordinance is enacted by the city or town council. So the first thing that would happen is we revert back to the last year's budget. Bond payments would have to be made no matter what it is, because we don't want to default on bonds. And that is the default initially while this whole thing plays out. So there is a provision in state law that basically says you go back to the previous year's budget and the previous year's tax rate, by the way. So what would normally happen, and I've been in a situation where this happens, and again, I'm just talking theoretically, the first quarter tax bill would go out based upon last year's budget, right, with the tax rate. Give us both the city council and the mayor time to work this out, whether they get legislation or not, assuming that some legislation passes that makes you go over the cap or the budget is presented. Then the difference, the delta that's from what you passed and what was actually needed gets spread out in quarter 2, 3, and 4. So you get another tax bill, but it's spread, it makes up the difference.
Let's assume the worst case scenario. The city council doesn't come to an agreement, reverts back, it goes to the mayor. The mayor cannot exceed the 4%. All right. So that the budget becomes the previous year's budget, basically.
In the interim. Yeah.
However, in the interim, since we passed resolutions and ordinances approving contracts which exceed that amount, what happens then?
That's a good question. I don't want to delve into what might happen then, but I think that you might have to, you don't have enough money to pay those individuals, right? Because you don't have enough, because it exceeds that. Whether that means there may be a temporary layoff, a bumping, I don't want to get into that because I don't know what would happen. But that's something that would have to be discussed, and that's an administration issue because they only have X amount of dollars from last year to pay. So that may mean layoffs, that may mean job freezes, that may be furlough days. I can't say what that would be.
They have to renegotiate.
Or perhaps, but that's an administration question, not for the council. We have no authority to renegotiate contracts.
If I could just jump in again. So this is where we cross the Rubicon from, the legal problem to the political problem. I think the problem here is that the spread between what state law allows and what our charter allows in terms of the tax increase versus what the mayor says we need is a huge spread. So 3.5%, the difference between 7.5% and 3% is huge. And to go back to what Mayor Trafficante was saying, and Mike is right, you know, we can't tell what the future holds. All I can tell you, and I think Mike would agree, is that there are mechanisms in place under state law. If you find yourself in a genuine fiscal emergency, there are avenues you can pursue, but they're not pleasant. You're going to forfeit control. Both the administration and the council are going to forfeit considerable control. So the longer this goes on, the more dire, I think, and the more dire the financial situation becomes, the more you're going to be looking at one of the options that I outlined earlier, whether it's approaching the Auditor General or the Department of Revenue and asking for some type of fiscal overseer, as I said, was done in Central Falls, Johnston in the 90s, and the Providence School Department.
And I'm going to take Councilman Bonanno. I know he's got a question on this, but the movement that the council has here, I mean, we sat for long hearings, and even if everything we complained about, and I think Councilman Trafficante said it very clearly, even if everything we said, this is wrong, this one's wrong, this needs to be slashed out, we probably found less than $1 million savings. And the only way we can find savings is if we do bring people back to the table, some of the unions back to the table. And in the conundrum, we have a conundrum as well. As rightfully pointed out, Attorney Marcello said, we don't have the authority to go to the unions. We don't know what's being done at this time. And we are going to have an executive session to discuss that matter, because we did reference, because that's a real conundrum. No matter how, the unfortunate, it's kind of frustrating, no matter how thinly we go over, with thin comb, we go over that budget, there's only so much in there you can find. We're in the business of personnel, and most of those personnel have legal contracts that are binding, that have been passed here. And the truth is, if we said we could only go to X percentage, that's $4, $5, $8 million. I have a lot of faith in the people in this room, but I know they can't find $1 million in this budget, of 2 million or 8 million. So that's a big conundrum we have on our end. It's almost like we're between a rock and a rock here.
That's why I said the spread here is just, it's huge between what is needed,
right,
according to the mayor, versus realistically what you can enact. And I think you hit it right on the head too. And Director Strom can certainly answer this better than I could. But to come up with, I mean, to get down to even 4% from 7.5%, you're looking at cutting what, 3.5, maybe $4 million. I don't know how you do that without breaking contracts or having massive layoffs. And that's going to affect city services. So
yeah, and we're going to stay in the theoretical zone for now, but when we will have to talk about those things in executive session, not this evening when we schedule it. Absolutely. I see Councilman Bonanno's been waiting very patiently. You had a question, sir.
Thank you. I have a statement and then 2 questions. First of all, when the Director of Administration or Chief of Staff or whatever his title is, stood here a couple meetings ago and said they saw this in August, and here we are, we're just finding out about it, you know, or we found out about it late. If we knew about it in August, September, October, would have given us some more time to contemplate this stuff as opposed to being under the gun right now. And that might make some people upset, but that's the reality of the situation. And that makes our job serving our constituents a lot more difficult. I don't like that. It's hard enough. I have 2 questions. The first one is, let's say for the sake of argument, hypothetically, this council doesn't get to the required 7 votes to go over the 4%. Does that mean we fail to enact the budget and the mayor's budget goes into effect? Or does that mean, and then if the General Assembly approves something more than that, it goes into effect? Or does that mean he has to trim his budget to 4% tax increase and we go through it again.
I think Attorney Marcello and I discussed this on, I think it was Saturday. The way the charter, that particular charter provision is written it's kind of poorly drafted. Because the interpretation there is, I think we're in agreement on this, that anything short of approval or anything short of you amending it and voting to approve it is not adopting the budget. Therefore, the mayor's budget as proposed would take effect. But we have a problem because, as Attorney Marcello said, we've got a budget based on a 7.5% tax levy, which can't happen legally.
Right, so that's kind of what I'm saying. So that's when it would go back, because to me, that whole thing doesn't make sense. If we don't like a budget, we vote it down, right? It gets enacted. What? That makes no sense. And that happened a few years ago. And it doesn't make sense.
Well, I think if I can interject, I think, and I wasn't here, I didn't draft it, obviously, but I think the intent was, look, if you don't like it, change it. That's why you have the power to amend. If you can't, and this isn't, I'm speaking rhetorically, if you can't take the time, all right, to sit here and go through this thing and amend it and get it to a place where you like it, well, too bad for you. The mayor's budget is going to rule the day. That's what I think the
All right, fair enough.
the intent was.
So the charter provision is designed to make sure that the city always has an operating budget, right? That's to pay its bills and whatnot. So if the council doesn't act, the mayor's budget gets enacted, right? And the mayor has certain parameters within the charter of how far he can go. The problem is the mayor submitted a budget which is beyond those parameters, which needs General Assembly approval.
Yeah, no,
And
yeah.
that's the twist in this story
So-
that has probably never been addressed.
Yeah,
But I think both the solicitor, assistant solicitor and I agree that if the council fails to act or doesn't adopt about anything short of adoption, we go back to the mayor's budget, but the mayor's budget cannot be enacted because it's above the cap set by state law.
So now we go back to
therefore, in
last
my
year.
opinion- In my opinion, again, I haven't,
Right.
my opinion, the obligation then falls on the administration to resubmit a budget within the parameters that are allowed by charter.
So does that mean we start over again?
I believe that's, you have to start over again. And in the interim, you have the ongoing provision that you're operating under of.
Okay, so it's not like, so in other words, we start over again, the mayor would propose in essence, a second budget that would come to us for ratification and changes,
That's-
presumably.
That's the way I see it.
Okay, I mean, all right,
Someone's got to submit a budget.
okay. Second question,
At some point, someone's got to submit a budget.
okay. Second question. How does the supplemental tax work?
It wouldn't be a supplemental tax. It would be,
No, I'm asking in general, how does the supplemental tax work?
supplemental tax usually is when you have a budget, you have an active budget. And for whatever reason, there was either a crisis or an unexpected expenditure, or maybe a drop in revenues. You go back to you basically go back to the General Assembly and say, we need to allow a supplemental tax bill to go out to the city of Cranston or whatever city.
So that does,
We're not even close to that yet.
I know, but I'm just thinking because we got to think, everybody, and I know my colleagues are, thinking 4 steps ahead here, you know? So that would also require General Assembly approval and certain conditions would have to be met?
Yeah, and the reality is, again, the General Assembly is going to be out of there by June, so you got a short window here.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other question? I'm gonna make sure everybody has an opportunity to weigh on this. Councilwoman Graziano.
I don't want to step too far, so I'll ask the question and if we can't answer it. So what happens, let's say, if we, as the council and the mayor, cannot pass a budget that covers the expenses from last year? Then where do we go?
Well, what
From
happened
FY
is-
25 and 26?
Again, as I read the statute, you operated under those, you're under the spending and taxes from last year. That's what the statute says.
If you can't pay them for whatever reason, And again, recall my earlier comments. If it constitutes, as certified by the finance director, a genuine financial emergency, then you have to go to the Auditor General. You have to get approval. It comes back to you, and then you have to approve it.
Councilman Traficant.
I just want to bring up a personal experience. And I believe it was early 90s. The federal government eliminated a variety of federal funds that were given to cities and towns, such as general revenue sharing, things of that nature. And we had a situation where I had to go back to the unions and you had to ask permission. I had to go back to the fire, to the police, to the laborers union, to the school department. We had to sit down. And by the way, they had to get permission to renegotiate the contract. We had to renegotiate contracts so I could meet the budgetary expenses. So if push comes to shove, we may have to do exactly that.
But Trav, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't have my labor law on right now, but once you renegotiate that contract, it has to go before the members again, just like the original contract. So I mean, it's everybody. We talk about everybody's tightening their belt. They're gonna have to vote to tighten that belt, and that's not a given either. I'm not, all the things we say, that's not all these are hypothetical at this point, right? But it's not as easy as all this. We're kind of in the middle of, like, even if we wanted to shave off, like, say I wanted to go to 4% or 5% or 6.5%. Nobody in this room has the staff to figure out how to get there. Nobody in this room has the ability to go to any collective bargaining unit and say, go back to your members and take a little less. We don't have that. And that's, we have a lot of leverage before we get to the cap, right? But those seem like happy days. Richard and I remember those, where we were worried about 1% almost getting to the cap. Now, we have no room to move. So hence, I remember saying we need to kind of get these hearings out, not out of the way, but done very quickly, because we get a lot of questions that are going to come about. So I'm going to take Councilman Campiano, and then I have a couple other questions I might want to ask.
Thank you, Council President. I also want to point out that if it does go beyond the deadline and we have to go to the next session, it's only going to compound the debt, because we're still working with last year's, if I'm correct, we're still working with last year's budget. So the debt's not going to go away. So we're still going to have, so probably the rainy day fund's going to be further depleted because waiting to get this passed. Am I correct?
I'm not a finance guy. This is a gentleman to ask, but yes, obviously, if you're working under last year's budget, right? You're working under last year's budget and you're on last year's tax rate. Yes, you're obviously creating a deficit, because expenses in the future as proposed are higher than last year's budget.
So it's going to come.
Do you want to weigh in on that question?
Yes, if we did revert back to this year's budget that we're currently in, there are, as you know, holes in this year's budget, which would be compounded again next year. So right now, to get us where we need to be, when we propose 7.5%, that's roughly rounded off $15 million. If you go to 4%, which is the cap, that's 8. We still have a shortfall of about $7 million. And that's significant. And you can go through that budget, and if you can come up with $7 million, you should be the finance director, believe me, because you're not going to find it. We've gone through every facet of that budget. Now, there's some things you may want to tweak here or there, but not to that dollar figure. And if I recall, when we came in 2009 with Mayor Fung, we sat with the bargaining units, and there was agreements, concessions made by each bargaining unit to get us over that financial hump at the time, but it wasn't as significant as what it is now.
And not to you, and this is for the executive session. We'll have a discussion about how those conversations are going now. which we won't have now because that wouldn't be appropriate in open session, but we'll schedule one.
At this point, we have.
Maybe someone, yeah, okay, someone has? We'll worry about that, yeah. All right, if I could, yeah, we'll talk about, yeah. So the other thing I want to go, and this may take direct, did I have another question?
Bob, you made a statement. You have problems in this year's budget. Kind of elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, this
Trav,
year's,
Trav, Trav, I want to be very careful. On the agenda, we're talking about the budget process.
Not
I
the-
think we're not talking about the individual budget where we are now, and I know that you want the answer, but I think that under the agenda, the council president really wanted to talk about what process and the legal, okay, so I don't want to go too far into it, okay? Thank you.
However, that will be on the next finance committee agenda, that I promise you. All right, so we won't talk about that now, but because it's just not on the agenda, it wouldn't be proper.
Okay.
So, the other thing in the budget, and I'm not gonna go through every line, it was a couple of things. If we could, Tom, if you could put 6.15 up there. It's up there. So 6.15 says, after the annual appropriation ordinance has been adopted and before the beginning of the fiscal year. This is kind of happy thought that we'll have a budget going into the fiscal year. But I have questions, a lot of people ask, well, why didn't you stop this? Why, where, what authority you have? The way I'm reading this budget, most of my authority leaves after May the 15th. But I do want to kind of see what's available in a finance committee meeting. Like, is there something I can say, bring me these documents so I can help find out where we went off the track. So as I look at this, it says beginning of the fiscal year, to which it applies, the head of each department, board, commission, office, agency, except for the school committee, shall, and I circled that number, and if I could highlight it in red, shall. I know in legal terms, shall means a lot. It means you got to do it. That's the way I understand it. It doesn't mean maybe if you feel like it, if you got time. It means shall, you will do it. Submit to the mayor in such form as the mayor shall prescribe, so right? A work program that shall, once again, show the requested allotments and appropriations for each department, board, commission, office, or agency for the entire fiscal year by quarterly periods. So the way I'm reading this, and I've read it a few times, and I'm not a lawyer, and lawyers, please help me with this. Somewhere there's a work plan, how the money from last year, the money from the previous year was spent, and I assume it was divided up into quarterly intervals, like the fiscal year. Now I ask, where would that document be? And can the members of the council have the documents for the last few years so we can look at where we went off the run? I would like those things. You were not here last year, so I don't know, but everybody's looking puzzled. That's the amazing, but it's in black and white, shall. So in your previous time, what did it look like? Was it a template? No, that's the monthly report somewhere else. It's the monthly report somewhere else in the charter. That's entirely different. This is by quarterly. Every department is supposed to submit a work report. Say I got $1 million. This is simple as, I'll make it simple. This is the way I perceive it, but you're a finance director. I got $1 million for the whole year. I divide it up into 250, 250, 250, or maybe I need 500,000 a certain part of the year. I don't need the rest of the year. It says that those department heads are supposed to submit some type of plan, a work plan in quarterly intervals. If we're not doing this, and this would be helpful to see as a council, right? I think I would like to see those reports, to see how they're going, to see how the money is spent as a form of oversight. And I fully know I probably have no authority to ask for it, but I'm asking for it anyway. Please.
Council President, I run weekly, if not weekly, bi-weekly expense summaries and revenue summaries by department. So you can see from week to week or every couple of weeks how they are spending their money, each department, and then it gives a total.
Good.
And how it compares to the revenues that are being generated by department or as a whole for the city from a tax collection.
So what you do, and I don't think it's the same thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not, what you do is you, instead of making a monthly report, you do a weekly report.
Correct.
Is it akin to that 97-page report that we get on the monthly?
Yes,
It's akin to that. But this doesn't say that, that's what you run. This is something that the department head is supposed to. This is my allotment. This is how I'm spending it. You see,
But-
I mean,
but my figures are actual expenditures. What each department head may submit, I'm not so sure how accurate that would be. That's the issue I
you know
have.
what's not working for me on that part? Because it's all like, I'm gonna quote the assistant, not the assistant, the acting finance director. Last meeting, he said, the horse is already out of the barn. I want to know what we did to get to that place. I want to know I want to know what we did to prepare going forward. And if that's not happening, I think something like that should happen. They put this in here for a reason when this was written, to kind of keep people in line. If it is not being done now, maybe we should do it again. It's called a work report in this thing. And it says it's supposed to be divided up in intervals of the fiscal year. So that wasn't something done in the previous.
Not since, when I was involved as finance director, no.
I don't have the authority to direct you to do it.
Mhm.
However, it looks like the charter does. It looks like we're supposed to do that. I don't have the authority. I'm not your supervisor.
Mhm.
But the charter says they're supposed to be there.
But we're
And I
just,
personally would like to see it,
but what you're saying is you would like each, say, department head,
not me.
well,
charter.
whatever. But that's what you would like to see.
Right.
And I'm saying to you, I do or can provide you the information you want to see, but it's just not from the department head.
Yeah,
It's from our financial system.
yeah.
And we've never did that before.
Well, and I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. And it just so I'm not spitballing this. There seems to be a disconnect with our allocations and how much we're spending. Obviously, that's where a lot of our problems are. For instance, if I look at these allotments, there's a provision in this charter that says I'm not allowed to make allotments, make expenditures beyond what my allotments are. I guess if it was materials, I spent more on materials than I was allotted for in the budget. If it was overtime, I gave you more overtime than was allotted in the budget. What's the mechanism so we know when we're spending more that's in the budget?
Well, it's shown, like I said, every week or 2 weeks on a financial report.
How
So
do
if
we
you're at 2 million at this point,
Hmm.
the next time I run that report, you may be at 2.4 million. So that means in the last week or two, you spent an additional 400,000 in overtime. So that, and I monitor that, and if you're over budget in certain line items, not so much the wages and things of that nature, but other line items, if you're over budget, the process is we call that department head and ask for a transfer of a fund that's under budget to balance it off. And if there's not enough, then when I'm ranked number 5 as far as the budget process, purchase order process.
Yeah.
I'll hold it. I won't release it. Until
Yeah,
I have
I think that's a start in the right direction. But I'm still having a hard time, and I'm gonna get to you, because I'll probably go on forever, because you and I are not, I'm having a blockage, and maybe it's me. When somebody gets overtime in a department, there is no approval necessary?
Yeah.
Before the monthly report says you spent too much money, no one says, like, listen, I'm a teacher. We don't get a lot of overtime. I work after school. I gotta get approval. I get X amount of hours I can work.
Mhm.
If I go over X amount of hours, guess what? I don't get the money.
The
Does
department
someone
heads,
approve of it?
the department heads will approve overtime if necessary.
All right. Is there some document that's signed so we can see those
Yes, it's in payroll.
in payroll?
Yes.
Because I'll be honest with you, one of the big things we have is overtime. And I know that's something you spoke of and you and I spoke and you spoke publicly. How do we get a handle on it? The truth is, the city council isn't in payroll. We're not in the city hall every day. We're all at our respective jobs, doing what we gotta do. If we're gonna keep an oversight, if this is something we have to do, we're gonna need some documents that say, I can't, because, I don't know, last month I put I put the financial report on the agenda. I asked am I seeing a $9.9 million deficit? And the answer was, yup. It was kind of like that. Yep, you're right. That seemed like an astronomical number that I would get more of a response. The next time I wanna find out how we're gonna fix it. So I'm not coming at you, Director Strom, trust me. There's a frustration that we're spending money, but there doesn't seem to be mechanisms to stop us from spending money. And maybe I'm not seeing it. And maybe I'm out of loop because I'm part of the legislative body, I guess. But those things, I mean, there's something in here that says we're not allowed to spend more than it's allotted to us. And that's in there.
Well,
let me just take Councilman Ritz, because as I was going on my long diatribe, he has waited very patiently.
No, thank you. It was very good, but I just wanted to get it because I have some thoughts on that. So in my professional life, the same thing as you said. So I have a budget. So if I'm over overtime, my analyst pulls the report every month and tells me you're over overtime. It's my duty to find out why and fix it. So for the finance meeting, could Auditor DeMayo flag every category that's over, give it to the chairs in here, but to Councilman Andujar, and then he could determine if we need those department heads to come in and explain to us to do it. I think that's a good, because we can have Auditor DeMayo do it, right?
I'm being told by my attorney, we've gone a little bit over the, we're getting closer to be off the agenda. I like your idea, though. How do we do that? And how do we find, I won't say anymore because I've already stepped my bounds, my bad.
Councilman, I can provide you with, as I stated, weekly or bi-weekly expense accounts for each department, and it'll show which accounts are over budget. And that could give a light to that department head to explain why it's over budget. Now, there could be a reason, for instance, the overtime for snow removal.
Sure.
How are you going to adjust, not justify overtime for snow removal? There are a number of things. There could be on the fire side, there could be a major fire that constitutes overtime. I mean, there's a number of things that can constitute that increase. It's not just overspending because they just want to buy something, There's reasons that support that. And there were some things that were under budget that weren't correct, that we had to pay, like debt service or whatever. And we had to pay it, and it'll show it as being over because it wasn't properly budgeted.
As Councilman Bonanno said, we're only as good as the data we get, and we didn't get the data. But also, I don't think the mayor got the data either, and that's not your fault. That's been remedied, and you're here, and I'm thankful you're here, and I think we'll get it corrected. But I think it's just getting that information timely so we're not caught off guard. So thank you.
And I have to say, for the major departments, fire, police, public works, even border canvassing, I met with most of the major departments when we were going over the budget, to prepare the budget. So we did have communication to try to see if we could reduce this, why do you need this? So there was constant communication. So I don't have a problem having the council involved. I mean, I have basically nothing to hide. I'm trying to make sure that we can get our budget in line with what actually is spent.
No. I'm going to take Councilman Bonanno and then you, Councilman Graziano. Councilman Bonanno.
Thank you. First of all, in this iteration of my comments, I want to sort of give Director Strom some praise. None of this is Director Strom's, wasn't his responsibility. And I think that if Director Strom had been here the whole time, we would not be in this situation. I want to say that. Now, as far as the budget process moving forward, I think that unfortunately, because of his absence, we need to tighten up some of the practices, even go beyond some of the practices that were effective for him previously, because we're in a lot worse shape than we were when he left us. With that being said, I mean, I do want to also echo the council president and many of us here that work, I work for the state. And I could tell you that, for instance, a garage door broke and we cannot use it. And it impacts my operations. I have to ship stuff. But the answer was, you have to wait until the next budget, which starts in July. We got a whole quarter left, basically. So there have to be mechanisms in place in the budget process for us to look at where we are in relationship to how much we have left before we fall off a cliff. And I'm not sure that was being done under the previous finance director. And I hope, Director Strom, that's something that you can improve and, put back to the way you had it before and improve upon that even beyond what you did before. I want to say I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've come out of retirement. So Roger Clemens is in George Steinbrenner's box here. I'm glad you're here, and I have confidence that you're going to be able to help us fix this. But we as a body of 9 have gotten a lot of questions as to why we were asleep at the switch when we didn't have all the information. We were misled by the previous finance director. And for that reason, we're going to need even more information in this process going forward. And I hope you can help us with that.
Well said. That's actually kind of what I was alluding to. Yeah, thank you. Councilman Graziano.
Thank you, President Wall. So I want to give you a big kudos for bringing this up in the charter. So I'll just say it plain and simple. Like, I think what President Wall is saying is you need to come up with a process to execute this specific section. So we want to see this executed. That's number one. Number two is accountability. And I mean, I work for a municipality and I'm accountable for my budget. I'm a department head. And sure, they're probably going to pay the bill if I go over, right? The first time, the second time. What happens the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth? When is it flagged and where's the accountability? So I want to know what process the administration would like to set up and what process the council should set up. And if it's not this section and we need more than that, then that's fine. Let's do it. But the bottom line is it seems like there's no accountability with budget spending. And we're not talking about a snowstorm. I actually do not want to talk about a snowstorm. I want to talk about where we decide in the budget that it's an emergency and it needs to be flagged and we're over. Is it 10,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 100,000? Is it $1 million? Where and when are we flagging that? That's my issue. I know I would have had a crap ton of accountability in my position if I went over my budget. Also, my budget is $4,000. But I just want to say, like, there needs to be accountability and we need to have alarms set. And if it's this, great. If it's not, then we need to have better accountability.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. These overages, would they show up in the monthly reports that we get from Director Igo? They would. Wouldn't it be prudent to have those reports on each month's finance committee meeting in order to review them? And we have an auditor here that could explain them and go over them each month?
I did that a couple of months ago. Yeah. It's on.
I know you did it, but I don't know if it was your responsibility to do it. I think it was more responsibility to the chairman of that committee.
Yeah, no, I asked to have them put.
Kudos to you, Council President, for doing that.
I wanted that. Thank you for the kudos. I do have a couple of, I do have a couple of other items, but I think we've kind of got the point. There are provisions, and Councilwoman Graziano said it, whatever we're doing isn't working so well. All right. If we went the year before with the 6.5 deficit, and now we're trending in a 9.9 I think when we put it on the agenda, I know the members of the council don't have the authority to tell you to stop spending. But I think when that comes up in the next month and you're gonna see it, you're gonna be ready for it. I know you are. That's how you proceed. I think some of the action that's taken needs to happen. And I'm not finding fault with the acting director. He was kind of put there in the last minute to pinch hit. It's not to throw shade. But right now, we're gonna have to say, we're at this point. That's the mechanism I'm looking for. We're at this point. This is what we're gonna do to make sure it doesn't get worse. The patient's got a big financial hole in him. What are we gonna do to sew it up? And I know that's what you want to do. Yep, go right ahead.
I believe a few weeks ago, the mayor did a communication to all departments to not spend any additional money unless it was totally essential or emergency. So that's on record.
I think it's a great thing to have.
Well, it was.
You say it has to be approved by the mayor first?
Director of Administration, finance person, yes, myself, yes. So he did go on record to state that. And it's up to me now to follow up that it's being adhered to.
And I think that's a great thing. I think it's in line with what we're saying, that because the fact that how are we saying you can have overtime if there isn't a procedure? And if it is, I know when you were here, if someone was at overtime, a lot of overtime in their budget, that you called them in or called them up and said, no more. And we need to know that now they're saying no more, because you can't wait till it gets to that levels before we say. And I know some are absolutely necessary. You had a snowstorm, the plow drivers are gonna have overtime. I get it. But everything is in a snowstorm. So we gotta kind of think, and we've got all this is across all the departments. So let's look at that. I have nothing further on this. I've kept it a long time, Councilman Ritz.
Just to end on a positive note that, working through this budget project, this unit does really work as one team.
True.
And not just this council, but the administration too. I mean, Director Ronzulli's fantastic. When I ask a question, not sending me to get the information, bring back the information, but I think with this group, we're all going on it right. It's not Democrats, it's Republicans, just Cranston. And I think we're all working to get that done. So it's very proud to be a member of this community. So thank you.
Councilman Trafficant.
I'm just gonna make a general statement, all these problems will be averted if when developing a budget, it's a more realistic budget, that we don't overestimate our revenues and underestimate our expenditures. We wouldn't be having these kind of problems. And I'll just make one further comment. I was kind of surprised and taken back that the resolution that came before us, or I received in the mail, to extend the tax levy to 7.45% was submitted by a representative that outside the city of Cranston. Not one single Cranston representative or senator submitted that resolution, not one. That tells me something.
Thank you, Councilman. And what you want like to speak? Yes, I'm saying, by all means. On the budget process, I want to
Yes.
make sure we don't get
Just
too far off.
to
Thank you,
make aware,
Mr. Mayor.
part of what's going on, it's a rolling effect. So when we have our hearings as part of the budget process, there are questions that are asked of the Director of Finance at the time. Example would be, in previous fiscal year ends, I think it was 24, you had one-time funds in the budget. You've made some adjustment moving forward in some expenditures. Do you feel comfortable without a tax increase that you're going to be able to cover these expenses that are only one time? And the council and everybody asked the hearing, we were assured that it was going to work. And then things happen and mitigate. And so it's not just one particular year. It's a rolling effect because the expenditures don't go down. The expenditures go up for contractual obligations. So that's what we're up against in some of the points here with some of the decisions. Also, some of the reports that we received the year, I think it was the fiscal 25 audit. We didn't get any monthly reports collectively. until November 15th. And that means we got June, July, August, September, and October, November 15th. So didn't have any information provided that we could go over. And usually they leave the books open between 30 and 60 days because they're making audit adjustments so they can close and roll forward. So we were already 5 months in to the year before we even had any perception of where the numbers were. So that's a part of the perspective. If we're going to look at it, we need timely information, and we need to know that we can go back and say, here's what we see. But again, like the council president said, we don't have control over the spending. We can only make suggestions as a council.
Thank you, Auditor DeMayo. I think we've pretty much exhausted that at this time. I'm gonna move on. Moving on to the introduction of no new business. If there are no objections, I'm going to take new business as a block. Yep. I see no objections. So is there a motion to approve, send new business to their respective committees?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Council Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Council Campiano? Council Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan? Council President Wall?
Yes, thank you. I do see, Solicitor Malay, how are you this evening? Are you here for the executive session? Okay, you know what, at this time, I'm gonna have a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal bills and with the law department.
So moved, Mr. President.
Is there a second? All right, any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano? Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Council Trafficante? Councilwoman Vaziri? Council Campiano? Council Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan? Council President Wall?
Yes, we are in executive session. Entertain a motion to return to the open session.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano, Councilman Ritz, Council Trafficante, Councilwoman Vaziri.
Present.
Councilman Campiano, Council Banano.
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan, Council President Wall.
Yes, okay, let me state for the record that there were no votes taken during the executive session. This time I'm gonna entertain a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Ritz,
Yes.
Council Trafficante, Councilwoman Vaziri.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano, Council Banano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan, Council President Wall.
Yes, all right, this time I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn this evening.
So moved.
This is motion made and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye, opposed, signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries.